So next event is the Women's Novice 8B Final. So these are women who are in their first year of rowing. So everybody has not, this will be their first Midwest Championships that they're in. It's got to be a lot of nerves going on here. You can see the boats are still lining up in the stake boats here. So this is a challenging time for the coxswain. So the coxswain is the person who's sitting in the back of the boat, who's going to be cheering on the rowers and steering. And when you back into the stake boat here, there's actually a person sitting on almost like a diving board that's attached to this dock that will reach out, grab, and hold on to the stern of the boat. And then there'll be somebody on the shore that makes sure that all the boats are aligned, that nobody has an unfair advantage, everybody's bow balls are lined up. And when they're doing that, coxswains have to make sure that they keep their point, which can be a little bit more challenging. You'll see in the lane 4 there's a boat that's sort of swinging around with one of the oars tapping it around.
Yeah, and that's pretty common. It could be slightly windier up at the start. Again, you don't have as much control of the shell when it's not at speed. Kind of like a bicycle is a metaphor I've picked up from some of the coaches around here. When you're under power, it's easier to stay balanced.
Absolutely.
Right? Same thing with steering. So this is quite a challenging part, even though they're not underway just yet. But it does look like they've got some alignment. And a few minutes after the projected start, so we were set to start at 8:12, but getting our alignment here in the Women's Novice 8B Final. Over in that lane 1, we have Rockford, North Allegheny in lane 2, lane 3, Pioneer, St. Ignatius Chicago B in lane 4, lane 5, Perrysburg, and we're now underway, so we've got the field rounded out with Culver Academy's B in lane 6, lane 7, Cranbrook Kingswood, and Loyola in lane 8.
So again, lane 1 is at the top of your screen here as the drone pans around here. It'll be on the left side of the race official that's following the race.
Easier for the referees to keep track of, right? From
Yes.
left to right. So as the course reads from those 2 chase launches behind the field, lane 1 to the left, lane 8 to the right. So lane 1 closer to shore if you're here with us at Kensington Metro Park. But man, here in this first couple of meters, hard to say who's exactly in the lead, but the bigger the boat, the faster the speed, the smaller the margins.
Yeah, I think Culver Academy's B got a nice early start on that on the start there, but they're really getting pushed by, it looks like, St. Ignatius Chicago B and Pioneer.
Mm-hmm. And don't ever count out the darker shells. So Rockford is in that slightly darker shell off to the left-hand side of the screen in lane 1, and we can't see their bow ball, but I'd argue it's probably going to be pretty close.
Yeah, they're definitely making a good push here.
Man, probably one of the best seats in the house those referees have of a race like this.
Absolutely.
Especially in the start of an 8's race. So as the drone pans around to the side, we'll get a good shot of that first 500-meter mark here at the Midwest Scholastic Championships of the Women's B Final of the Novice 8. But it looks like potentially Rockford may have a smidge out in front, but is very close.
Yeah, maybe a seat or two. It's hard to tell from the angle, of course. But yeah, maybe even a quarter of a length. At these landmarks in the course where you'll see, the 500-meter mark, the halfway point, this is typically where crews like to put on a concerted push. So you may see some change-ups happening here at these key points of the race. But this is a very competitive race for these women. This is their first championship race. And they're all really hanging in there very nicely. We've got basically overlap across all 8 lanes, which is a fantastic race here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a lot when you're the athlete out in those situations. You're hearing a cacophony of blades and oarlocks and shouts from your teammates and from other boats and other coxswains and your coxswain. So it's a big test to these athletes as one of their first Midwest championships to stay as focused as possible with this race with 8 lanes of racing. It is a lot to keep track of. But Rockford out in front here as they cross the halfway point of this race, first to that island. But then between those next 3, it is a tough call. What do you see there, Jim?
Yeah, I think it looks like it's Pioneer's got just a little bit of a lead. Maybe Culver Academy's B. Hard to tell. Ignatius Chicago B is putting a push here. This is all back and forth, just who's taking a stroke when.
And that's an exciting thing to have happen at midpoint during the race. So at this point, what are coxswains telling their crews? They've passed the halfway point. They're closing in on that 500-meter buoy. What kind of things are being said?
I think at this point of the race, you are trying to make sure that your crew is pushing through the fatigue. This is really where you start to feel the lactic acid burning up, sort of this third quarter of the race, always the most difficult, both mentally and physically. You feel like, okay, I've got all the initial adrenaline rush pushed out, but when is that finish line coming? And for these strong women here, this is their first championship race, so they're still feeling out that. But really, really competitive here, and the longer you keep that contact with other boats here, the more that they're going to just push on. I wouldn't be surprised to see some pretty fast times for women's novice racing in this event today, given just how competitive this is.
And you definitely get fueled by the momentum of the other crews out there. So for me as the rower, I was always listening to the other sounds going on. And if I could hear something happening in another boat, I would try to respond to it. But instead of reacting, you try to respond. What can you have within your control? So then also listening to, say, what Jim was talking about, how are you commanding your athletes to make this push? They're in that dark pain cave. What else do they have in the tank that they can give to the rest of the team?
Yeah, and it looks like Pioneer is out in second place now. They've got about 6 to 7 seats on the rest of the field. Tight race for third place here. But this is still anybody's game for both third and second. That type of a margin, that is not safe. Rockford's out, but they got to really continue to execute.
And I think we're seeing a little peek here of Cranbrook Kingswood. Is that here on the near lane?
Yeah.
I didn't even see them before, but here they are. They're throwing their hat into this ring, see where they can place. Could they snag a third place here at the Women's Novice 8 event? They might as try.
Yeah, it looks like Culver Academy's B has really stepped up their stroke rating. Starting an early sprint here. All these crews can start hearing you from the grandstand, so make sure you start cheering. We're in the red zone right here.
Rockford hearing those cheers first. We can see a little bit of their fans on shore, definitely taking in that fuel to just keep pushing the field away. But it is Pioneer who is in that strong second position. North Allegheny trying to stay with them, trying to keep overlap, maybe having that bow ball move on to the coxswain. From there, it looks to be St. Ignatius, Chicago B, Culver Academy's B, then Perrysburg and Cranbrook neck and neck.
Pioneer's looking sharp here, pulling away now. Got just a bit of clear water for second place there. Still a fight for third.
Third might come all the way down to the line on this one, folks.
Remember, the finish line is about 5 meters before those aiming buoys, so looks like Pioneer's crossing right about now. And then let's see what's going on for third place here. This is exciting.
Wow, very, very tight. But look to be North Allegheny.
I think North Allegheny got it just at the last moment there.
Just a smidge ahead of St. Ignatius, then Culver Academies.
Cranbrook Kingswood coming across there. And we got Perrysburg and Loyola.
Wow.
Strong finish there.
Yeah. Very tight there for third, but that's what it tells you. You got to race all the way to the line. You never know how it will shake out. So you never win a race off the start, but you certainly win it there at the beginning or at the end. But what do you got in that last 500?